Women of Distinction Awards recognizes women and organizations that are making a significant difference in their communities. The awards is also the premier fundraising event for YWCA in Metro Vancouver, and all proceeds from tonight's dinner will go to support YWCA programs and services for low-income women and children throughout Metro Vancouver. The award recipient is the YWCA helps provide much needed support to break the cycle of poverty. And this is what tonight is all about, is helping to honor all of you and helping the YWCA.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Jennifer. I'm the Associate Director of Special Events here at the YWCA Metro Vancouver. Thank you for joining us. I'm just going to get started right away, but before I do, a few housekeeping items. My colleagues Courtney and Amanda are on the call or on the webinar as well. It's quite difficult for me to manage my presentation and answer questions at the same time. So they will be in the Q&A. If you have any questions, please put them there. That way, all participants can see the questions being asked and we can avoid repeat questions. I will be opening the session for Q&A at the end as well. So if there's anything that's unanswered or maybe something needs more explanation, I will be addressing that then. This webinar focuses mainly on an individual nomination. So if you are here because you're considering nominating a workplace or an organization, it's still the information is valuable and the principles will sort of apply when you're considering putting your package together. So I will be referencing a lot of the individual nomination form because that's the majority of our nominations, but the principles in terms of how to write a package, what the judges or the selection committee are looking for still apply. So you still will get some valuable information. Most importantly, you will have access to myself and my team. We are in the nomination phase of the 2025 awards. We have an excellent committee that assists us with finding these amazing individuals and organizations to be nominated. So you have direct access to me and my team via email once this webinar is done. Should you need any more assistance or have any questions, either myself or a member of my team will be helping you. So we will get started. I'm just going to pull up my PowerPoint. Here we go. I think you can see it now, and we will hide this. All right. I also want to note that if anyone is having any technical issues, just put it actually in the chat, and hopefully Amanda and Courtney will be able to assist you. But I will just get through it. So welcome. First off, I would like to do a land acknowledgement that the YWCA Metro Vancouver operates on the ancestral and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. We also acknowledge the unceded territories of the Samiamu and the Stolo peoples, including the Katzie, Kwantlen, Kikwetlim, and Kwekwat nations, as well as the treaty lands of the Tsawwassen Nation. Okay, so what are we here for? What is the Women of Distinction Awards? The Vancouver one specifically, we are in our 42nd annual event, and it is recognized nationally as one of Canada's most prestigious awards for women. So YWCAs across the country, I think there's several of them that host a Women of Distinction Awards or something similar, and they are recognized nationally across the country as one of the most prestigious awards that women individuals can win. YWCA Metro Vancouver specifically, we've honored more than 2,100 nominees and more than 350 award recipients recognized as distinguished women in workplaces since 1984. We celebrate the nominees and recipients. We do an event around International Women's Day, which is kind of the kickoff or the road to women of distinction, if you will, where we honor all the nominees. We do a massive announcement in the Vancouver Sun, bunch of press releases, bunch of social media, and we honor the award recipients and the nominees again at the gala, which this year will be on April 28th, 2025. We have 12 award categories in Vancouver: arts, culture, and design, business and the professions, community champion, education, training and development, entrepreneurship and innovation, environmental sustainability, health and wellness, nonprofit. We have reconciliation and action. That's bold and italicized because we actually honor 2 women in that category, an Indigenous leader and an ally as well. And then we have research, the sciences and technology, young women of distinction, and outstanding workplace. So outstanding workplace, I think we're in our 14th or 15th year. Our CEO at the time really thought we should acknowledge organizations that are really working towards advancing the gender equity gap and honoring women. So that category honors workplaces that are really doing the work. So why do the Women of Distinction Awards exist? Well, there's several. The power of recognition, whether consciously or unconsciously, the power of recognition validates those who are driving positive change to continue the good work they are doing. It reaffirms the impact they are making, does not go unnoticed. Not only does it encourage them to continue, but it also encourages those around them to engage as well. And therefore, the power of recognition creates a cycle of inspiration for future generations. So that's the bigger picture of why we believe the Women of Distinction Awards is important. But getting down to the systemic issues, obviously the gender equity gap is something that we are actively working on as an organization. As you can see by some of the stats here I'll go over. It's important that we still do this work. And I found it very interesting updating my presentation every year, how these stats are just like incrementally, they're incrementally getting better. But I've been in my role here for about 13 years, and it just shows that we have a lot of work to do. And so we believe that honoring these women and again, the power of recognition is a way of advancing the gender equity gap. Not only, so I'll just read off some of these stats. Specifically, women represent 48% of the workforce, yet they only make up 4 to 5% of trades, up to 30% of tech, and only roughly 10% of women are CEOs. These stats specifically are British Columbia based, by the way, which is marginally better than the North American stats. So just to keep that in mind and for reference. There are more Fortune 500 CEOs named James than all female CEOs in 2018. I will say I threw in this updated stat. So as of 2024, that stat is no longer relevant, but there's around 50-ish women serving as CEOs for Fortune 500 companies. So as you can see, between 2018 and 2024, we had to work hard just to get 50 women serving as CEOs. Globally, poverty wears a woman's face. On average, working moms get 58 cents for every dollar a dad earns, and as low as 42 cents for BIPOC moms. The pandemic made that the pay gap way worse. In 2020, as of 2023, women in British Columbia earn approximately 11 to 12% less than men do for the exact same roles, exact same qualifications. And women leaders in the boardroom. Women hold approximately 30% of board seats on publicly traded companies in BC, yet we represent close to half of the workforce. So as we can see, there's some work to do. And as I mentioned before, we believe that the YWCA the Women of Distinction Awards in general addresses and really shines a light on some of these systemic issues that we are dealing with. Okay, why again? So for those of you that aren't familiar with the work of the YWCA, and it is different across the country, but YWCA Metro Vancouver, basically this is our signature fundraiser. So it is a fundraiser and all the proceeds are undesignated, which allow us to offer holistic and sustained programs that we know are working that may not necessarily be funded by the government or donors, but we see the results. So just, you know, some of our high level stats from last year, we served over 32,000 meals in the downtown east side. 249 children took part in our childcare facilities. 715 low-income mothers and children made their home in one of our 15 housing communities. Over 6,700 women and men and youth access our employment services that we have. And 746 children and teens participated in our after-school education program. So this is just some of the work that we do in some really high-level stats. And knowing that participating in the Women of Distinction Awards, the funds go to much-needed programming. So we are able to offer sustained holistic programming in the YWCA. So if you didn't know we did all that stuff, we do. Okay, so we'll jump right into the nomination process. Okay, so basic eligibility requirements for individuals considering a nomination. They must live and work or operate a business or with the organizations within Metro Vancouver. So that is the region bounded by and inclusive of Hope, Pemberton, Sunshine Coast, and the United States border. If you are unclear about that, please throw a question in the chat or send us an email, but I believe it is pretty clear. Now, when COVID hit, we understand that a lot of people, we understand that working remotely became quite popular and quite standard. So we are aware that a lot of people also were displaced. If you're unsure of your eligibility because of number one, where you live or where you live as opposed to where you work, send us an email and we will let you know essentially if you qualify, because we did definitely acknowledge that people may not be living in Vancouver anymore or working remotely, but their work impacts Metro Vancouver, which is the key requirement. Okay, so number two, not currently be in a campaign for or serving a term in office as an elected government official. I think that's pretty straightforward. Satisfy each of the 5 nomination criteria for their award category. So we'll go over this. Consent to the nomination and publication of her name, photo, and information. So one thing that, and it tends to happen every year, is that your nominee, who you're considering nominating, should be aware of the submission and they should consent to it. I understand the gesture of wanting to surprise someone to honor them, but our awards program is different. They need to know about it and in fact review your submission for accuracy before you submit. And it is a little check mark on the form that you've confirmed that you have done this. Again, we'll go through this. We ask that they attend the photo shoot that we have options on either Wednesday or Thursday in February 12th or 13th in 2025. This isn't like a make or break. So if you have a nominee with an extremely scheduled calendar and you already know that maybe they're out of town for a conference, this isn't the end of the world. We suggest it as an eligibility requirement because for several reasons. A, it's like the first interaction they get with all the other nominees. And we've heard from feedback that it's actually quite a lovely experience. but also we are very particular about the photos that we publicize on behalf of the YWCA, mostly because we want to ensure that everyone has a uniform, professional looking photo. And so we offer these photo shoots for that reason. We will work or make suggestions if you cannot attend the photo shoot. Sometimes, by the way, I'm the photographer as well. Sometimes I'll offer to photo shoot maybe a similar headshot, but like we really encourage everyone to attend the photo shoots. Yeah, okay. We ask that they attend both events, the first one being the announcing the nominees reception. We have not secured a date yet. Oh, I see a typo. We have not secured the date yet, but it's usually in or around International Women's Day. The dates on the table, just an FYI, are the 5th or the 6th of March. So, but we will publicize that, make that date public once, as soon as we have it. And then there's the gala, the awards gala on April 28th this year of 2025. If you are considering nominating a young woman of distinction, that they are between the ages of 18 and 25 as of March 8th, so International Women's Day 2025, for the young woman of distinction category. I should state explicitly, if you are nominating anyone that is that age as of March 8th, 2025, then they will automatically be in the young woman of distinction category. They won't qualify for any of the other categories. And then to align with our YWCA Metro Vancouver value statement, and then submit a quote and participate in the Connecting the Community Award. So I'll just quickly touch on this. Again, it's not a deal breaker. Number 9, if they participate or not, Scotiabank, who is our presenting sponsor, supports this award, and it's the only award that is determined by an online vote. All of our other awards are by an external panel of judges that are not affiliated with the YWCA. We, as an organization, we have no impact on who the award recipients are. But the Connecting to the Community Award basically asks the individual nominees, so organizations cannot participate in this award, to align with one of our areas of advocacy or speak to the one that resonates with them the most, submit a quote about why it resonates with them, and then basically solicit online votes from their community. And then the winner or the award recipient of the Connecting the Community Award will have $10,000 donated to their chosen area of advocacy on behalf of Scotiabank. So that is the Connecting the Community Award. All right, I'm going to keep going. Okay, so what is a complete nomination? So I'm going to escape my PowerPoint now, and then I'm going to actually just take you to the nomination form so we can break it down. We have made some changes this year for like the first time in 10 years, so the online form looks a little bit different. I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to share again. Sorry, talking to myself makes technical things a lot more easier. Okay, all right. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is head over to our website, ywcaevent.org. Under events, you're going to see Women of Distinction Awards. Click there and scroll down, and under the second tab, you'll see nominations. And here's where you'll find access to the nominations page. So we're going to go to nominate an individual. I would highly suggest reading this again before you make a submission. As a reminder, I will probably go over most of this information, but it's there and in red and bold just so you don't miss it. The deadline for nominations this year is November 29th at 5 p.m. exactly. We do not grant any extensions for technical difficulties, like 0 exceptions. So in the interest of fairness and transparency, we explicitly state that if we receive a submission, any part of it after 5 p.m. On November the 29th, Pacific Standard Time, it's automatically disqualified. And this is just for fairness. The nominations period that's open is quite long. We're more than available to assist for help. But yeah, that's just the hard and fast rule that we have. Other notable submissions, where other notable disqualifications that may happen if you include web links on your nomination. Do not do that. Most of the time we're able to redact them, but if you have a package that's just riddled with web links, then we do have the option of just not including that nomination. Part of your nomination submission includes 3 one-page letters that are a third party to your nomination that you need to solicit. So if you submit anything less than those 3 pages, then it will be disqualified. If your letters of support are longer than 1 page, there's a possibility of disqualification. If you repeat content within your written criteria across multiple areas, it could be a possible disqualification. If you do not define your acronyms and any part of your, as I mentioned, your submission is received past 5 p.m. on Friday, it will be disqualified. New this year, ta-da, you can save and return your work. So you can create an account, log in and start working on your nomination, save it, log out, log in. You can do this as many times until you've hit submit in your nomination. I'm excited to see and have for this year because we've never had it. It'll be interesting to get some feedback back on how this feature worked, and I hope it's helpful to everyone, because in prior years we had to explicitly state, please do not start working in the form because you can't save it, but now you can. So I think it's just appropriate that we just go through this nomination form and yeah, okay. So section 1 is your nominator information, just basic information on who is nominating. Keep in mind, we do not allow self-nomination, so this will need to be anybody else but the nominee. We have seen some self-nominations come in, but we don't allow them, so this should be someone else. If we catch it in time, I will go back to whoever has submitted it and let them know. Literally anyone can nominate. It can be your mom, it can be your sister, it can be your best friend, it can be your dad, it can be, it does not matter. Just you need to have a nominator. And section 2 is the nominee information. So pretty basic information, name, date of birth. We've also asked, because we do a lot of voiceover work for the awards, we asked that, and we do a lot of print work for the awards. We ask how you'd like their name to be in print. And then we also ask for a phonetically spelled pronunciation of their name. The photo shoot is another place we confirm this. It's really important that we get this right. Cultural names are encouraged and welcome. So yeah, this is just a helpful reminder. But yeah, that's there. So we've got business information, email, their address. If they are heavily affiliated with an organization, a brief description of that organization's objectives and mission statement. If they are not, then you can just explicitly state that there is no, like the nomination isn't explicitly or heavily tied to the work that they've done within an organization. And then the awards category, you pick which category you are nominating them in. Here's the YWCA vision and mission alignment. It just basically basically states that you align with the YWCA if you do anything that could possibly discredit our organization or is a reputational risk to our organizations, both before and after your experience as a Women of Distinction nominee, alumni, award recipient in any way, shape, or form. We have the explicit right to revoke an award. Yeah, that's the statement. And here's the Connecting the Community Award participation. Keep in mind, you cannot submit a form without agreeing to these things. But as I had sort of mentioned before, I kind of gave you the sort of backstory, like we're not going to hold you to it. We're not going to hold you to it. Your nomination does not hang in the balance based on it. So here's where you can pick a photo shoot time. There should be an option here that says either. So I will have that corrected. But what will happen is if it's either, then we will assign a time when, if and when their nomination has been, if their nomination has made it to official nominee, and we will email that person. But again, you're not stuck to either one of these times. There's an opportunity to change the time in the new year. Okay, so let's get into the criteria. This is where our form has changed quite a bit from years past. We used to just simply ask the criteria. So for instance, criteria 1 lists 3 or more examples of how the individual has shown vision and initiative to break new ground or old barriers within the chosen award category. Please be specific and concise, avoid subjective language, type responses below. So last year's nomination form and years past, you would just get one sort of box to type your whole answer. Based on feedback from our the judging panel or selection committee, this is a new form to try and see if we can pull out just specific hard facts. And I guess this would be like the biggest tip. Number 1 is if you can avoid the use of subjective language and just speak to stats or facts. I know that when people are writing a nomination, you want to praise them and talk about how wonderful they are and how they are loved. And I'm not to say not to include some of that, but really try to avoid the subjective language within your responses. We've actually lessened the word count as a whole. So basically you get 60 words for each criteria, and then you can add an additional examples at the bottom. This was really to cut down the amount of content that we would get, because we were really seeing a lot of descriptive writing, if you would, like, for lack of a better word, really fluffy writing. And I think to have more of an objective or objective view in terms of for the judging panel, we are just really looking for facts. If you can include metrics, amazing. The more specific you can be, I think the better. Okay, so that's criteria 1. And to give you a little insight on how the judges or the selection committee judge, well, all I can really offer you or say is that we give them suggestions based on years past and kind of what has worked. And some of these criteria are weighted in terms of how we suggest to judge when we go through judges orientation. But we give the judges the autonomy to judge how they want to at the end of the day. They can take the way we have suggested, but really they can judge however they like. I will say that when we get down to category about the volunteerism, that's probably weighted the least. So if you have a nominee that like has done all these things, but maybe their career is so busy that it doesn't allow them a lot of time to volunteer, like, don't worry so much about that. But yeah, just what's important to know is like the judges really do have autonomy in how they select their award recipients, but we do offer a suggested way to do it. Whether or not they take it, I would say what I've seen in judging is 50-50. So, okay, on to criteria 3 or criteria 2. List 3 or more examples of how the individual has demonstrated key accomplishments that help them stand out amongst their peers for their chosen category. Please be specific and concise, avoid subjective language, and you can enter your responses below. So if you haven't noticed already, the criteria is the same across all award categories. So when you are writing or composing your nomination submissions, really think of these questions in line with the award category. If you're looking for descriptions on the award categories on our website here, you can, where is it here? About the awards. There's descriptions on all of the award categories here. And in judging, just so you know, they do go back to these quite a bit when they're reading the information from the submissions and the nominations. So these are really good descriptions to see, you know, where your nominee aligns with the most. And when you're writing your package to consider when you're answering these criteria. Criteria 3, list 3 or more examples how the individual is a leader and role model within the chosen category. Please be specific and concise, avoid subjective language. So you see there's a running theme here. Yeah, we'll go to criteria 4. List 3 or more volunteer activities the individual has participated in within their field and related to the chosen category. Please indicate how many hours have been volunteered for each example. Please be specific and concise, avoid subjective language. Yeah, I would say I get a lot of emails about this criteria, the most worried that they haven't volunteered enough, or maybe their work isn't related to their chosen category. I wouldn't worry so much about that. If let's say we have, I don't know, a research doctor, but they choose to spend their hours volunteering at Big Sister, completely unrelated, because that's their passion, I would still definitely include it in this criteria for sure. Right. Criteria 5. List 3 or more examples of how they've been recognized by the community for the sustained commitment, accomplishments within their chosen category, i.e. awards, accolades. And this is another one that probably has like the least amount of weight in the package, because we do recognize that for a lot or many of our nominees, this might be the first award they're submitting in. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about this, but do try to have some sort of example. It doesn't have to be in the package of like an award or an accolade. It could be asking to speak somewhere because maybe they're an expert or maybe they've had an experience. Like, to us, that's how, like, that's recognition by your community if you're being asked to speak or if you're being asked to present, or I'm trying to think of other ways that would kind of fill in this. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but again, if you're worried about this, feel free to reach out to one of our team. We can kind of talk through it and ask some questions. And then section 7 is the summary of the nomination. So this is a section where we've asked you to like choose a highlight from each criteria and sum it up in the summary of the nomination. We use the summary to write individual bios for every nominee. Yes, the YWCA writes bios that we put in our awards program for every nominee. This helps us to see what the nominees really value in the information that they're presenting to us. And is a good starting point for us to write these bios. We do write them and we don't take a summary word for word. Again, we want whatever we're presenting to the public to be very fair and even, same tone in terms of representation. Again, why we take the photos and do the photo shoots, why we write all of the bios, things like that. Section 8, this is also newer this year. We recognize that marginalized groups within our nominees may have had a more difficult time to get to a certain point in their life. So this is just an open-ended question to identify some of these barriers if they have self-identified that they have had to overcome some. I think this allows the judges to be more objective when considering the packages that certain marginalized groups may have had to work a little harder to get to the same place. That's section 8. Okay, so section 9, you're almost done. The form like looks really long, but it's not terrible. Is your checklist. So these are just validating that you've done all these things, that your nominee lives and works within the eligibility requirement, that your nominee has reviewed this whole package before you submit it, that you're guaranteeing the accuracy and completeness, that the nominee has not been charged for any or convicted by any criminal offense by any court of law, and that the nominee has provided consent for this publication of their name and bio for their nomination. And last but not least, one of the most important parts of the nomination as well, probably the part of a nomination that trips people up the most, is the letters of support. So for a complete nomination, you need to submit 3 letters of support. They have to be a third party to the nomination, meaning the nominator cannot write the letter. They need to be 3 separate people to write a letter. It can be, again, anyone, but you want to consider the impact, you want to consider the author, you want to consider what information they're providing when you're asking the author. This would be probably one of the first things I suggest you do. Identify your authors, ask if they're willing to participate, give them a deadline. And this is important because so many people will be like, I'm just waiting for one more letter, and it's like 10 to 5 on the deadline, and I'm like, I can't do anything. So follow up, I even suggest to offer to write your letters and have them sign it or have them edit it, whatever. But this is probably the part of the nomination where most don't get in on time because they're waiting for other people. So if anything, I would just say persistent on this part of your nomination. We need no more, no less than 3 letters. They can only be 1 page. They have to be PDF. So when you upload them, or let's say, for instance, someone's giving you a letter in like a Word file and you convert it to a PDF, look at the file. Sometimes, like maybe 10% of the time, it'll format and the PDF is 2 pages and you don't even realize it. So make sure once you've converted it to PDF, open it, make sure it is just the 1 page, everything's there that you had received maybe in a Word document, and then you can upload it. We ask that all the letters are addressed to the YWCA Nominations Committee. This is another important one just because we've seen it happen where they're using maybe letters from other awards programs where they've submitted, and so it's addressed to someone else entirely. The idea is that these letters are written specifically for their YWCA Women of Distinction nomination. So even if you are going to sort of reuse a letter or you already have some information, like at least make sure you're acknowledging and editing it so it does comply with our standards. And also important that you do not use a font that is smaller than 10. So what we're trying to avoid here is like cramming as much information so it's like not legible on the page. Yeah, font no smaller than 10, PDF, 1 page, and then you just upload them here. And then when you're done, you just hit submit. So that's taking you through the form. I wanted to quickly go back to award categories and give some insight on a few of them. So community champion and nonprofit are often ones where nominators or nominees have a hard time differentiating between the two. Community champion would be an individual who identified a need within our community and basically grassroots style galvanized their resources, pulled from their personal resources, and created something to address this need. It could be operating as a full-fledged nonprofit where they take a salary today, but the differentiating factor is they identified a need and they started something to address this need. Whereas nonprofit would be someone like our CEO, Erin Seeley of the YWCA Metro Vancouver. She was hired into this role. So if you're hired, elected, or summoned into an already functioning nonprofit and you've done amazing work, you've created some organization or created some programs that saw major success, you are hired into the nonprofit sector. So I hope that's clear with those two. We see a lot of cross nominations between business and professions and entrepreneurship and innovation. Same thing, entrepreneurship, you would have started or come into a business and like basically revolutionized it from an entrepreneurial standpoint. At the end of the day, excuse me, I think I need to also express that our nominations committee reviews all of the nominations, and then we review them internally for eligibility, and then the nominations committee reviews them for content to make sure they are up to standard and before any of them are presented to the judges. In this phase, if we identify a package that seems to actually align better with a different category, we will let the nominee know, hey, this is our suggestion. You don't have to take it, but based on your content here and also to a little bit what we're seeing across the categories, yeah, we will make the suggestion. Totally up to you if you take it or not. But we do add that layer of screening before we present to the judges. So if you are struggling with identifying a category, and hey, I recognize there's some gray areas. For instance, Nicole Stefalani, I think if I remember correctly, Urban Impact is the business that she started. It's doing amazing in Metro Vancouver. Technically, she could sit in environmental sustainability, but she could also sit in entrepreneurship and innovation. And I believe that year she was a recipient for entrepreneurship or environmental. I don't remember. But my point is there is some gray areas in terms of where someone may self-identify. All I'm saying is, we will definitely add our suggestions. Totally up to you if you want to take it. But my suggestion, if you're struggling, just read the 2 captions that I showed you on our webpage here. Like read what they embody and see which one resonates with you the most and just pick that one, but also sort of rest easy that we are going to be looking for that in screening as well. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this and then I'm going to go back to my slideshow. Oopsies. Stop share. Share screen. Slideshow. Here we go. Oh. There we go. All right. So I think we went over this. What is a complete nomination? I went over the criteria and the summary nomination, the 3 letters of support. How, again, I'll be emailing you everyone who attended and who didn't. Our call for nominations brochure. So it's going to have those award category descriptions as well. And I'm going to email basically a summary of this webinar. It's like 2 or 3 pages long, and we are going to post this. So within a few days or so, I'll send a link if you do want to watch this again. Yeah, so basically review the brochure, email if you have any questions to myself. Again, like I said, I've got a really supportive team, and they will be either myself or I will have someone email you directly. We'll help answer your questions. Contact the nominee or nominator, get consent, discuss a plan and a timeline, request your 3 letters immediately, prepare your nomination package, and then submit it. I will say now, last year and this year, with the addition of AI into our lives, we don't have any hard and fast rules about using it. I would say, I'm not sure if we're ever going to, but personally, I would say use the tool. If it helps, use the tool for sure. Okay, so we've made this sort of suggested timeline checklist. This will be included in the PDFs that I emailed to everyone afterwards, just some sort of deadlines to keep you on track. I will share with you that probably 90% of our nominations come in the day of. If you get it in 2 weeks or sooner, before the deadline, we will definitely have someone sort of high level review it and maybe offer some suggestions of where you could add more. This doesn't barely ever happen, but if you are proactive, that's a little bit of a perk. Yeah, so like I said, this will be on the handout, so I won't go over the times and dates because it'll be what I email you. And then here are just some important dates. So November 29th, it's a deadline for your nominations. On or before January 29th, 2025, all potential nominees will be notified of the status of their submission. February 12th and 13th are the photo shoots. March, date to be determined, is announcing the nominee celebration. We do our press releases the same day that we do announcing the nominee celebration. And Connecting the Community Award voting begins that same day. So like I said, our announcing the nominee celebration is really the launch and like the road to the gala, where Connecting the Community starts as well. April 1st at noon, Connecting the Community vote closes. And April 28th, we have the Women of Distinction Awards Gala. Okay, so we'll just go over some quick frequently asked questions, and then I'll open the floor to some live questions. Can I save my work in the Women of Distinction online form and come back and finish it later? Yes, it's new this year. As I mentioned, you can create an account, which will allow you to save partial results and return and complete your submission at a later time, but obviously before November 29th, 5 p.m. Can I nominate my YWCA Women of Distinction Award candidate in more than one category? No, so you may only nominate a candidate in one category. Like I was explaining, many nominees may fit in several categories, but we ask that you choose the category that's most applicable to the specific work or achievement that you are nominating her for. Why does the YWCA Women of Distinction Award nominee have to attend a photo shoot? I think I explained that. We require a specific uniform look for fairness and representation. So we offer having professional photos taken in the case that you can't provide one, but we would definitely prefer that you attend the photo shoot, because if we have to Photoshop a lot of photos, it's a lot of work, but it's also really fun. And I get to meet all of them in person. So what is the summary of nomination? We use this information to create the nominee's short bio for our event materials. Yeah, please use clear, concise language, describe your nominee's most notable highlights, and keep the word count to a maximum. I think that should be 125 words. I think that's a typo. What kind of volunteer activities should I include in criteria 3? Oopsies. Include volunteer activities that are relevant to the field the nominees are in. Again, I'm just going to address this, that it's not the end of the world if it isn't entirely relevant. How long can the letters of support be? Address this. 1 page, 8.5 letter size only, single-sided, 10 font, 1 page only. Who should I ask to write a letter of support? The most effective letters come from a variety of supports, including work, clients, industry associations, and volunteer organizations. Can a nominator write a letter of support? No, a nominator cannot write a letter of support. Letters of support must be written by a third party to the nomination. How many letters of support may I submit? This is mandatory that you submit no more or no less than 3 letters. Anyways, how should the letters of support be presented? We talked about this. So that is it for my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and have a look in the Q&A here and see what kind of questions we have. Please, Senta, who can nominate or replace? Can you self-nominate? So that's a great question. Courtney's answering, but I'll answer it. Anyone can nominate a workplace. Yes, someone within the organization can nominate the workplace. That's the only exception that we kind of make. I guess because an organization is not an individual, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Any other questions? I felt like I was talking really fast and like there's got to be more questions. I'm reading all the previously answered ones. But thank you to Courtney and Amanda. You did a great job. Oh, I think got a new question. Oh, just a thank you. Thanks, Mitra. Can the nominator live outside of Metro Vancouver and or live in another province? Absolutely. Yes, they can. Okay, so the Connecting the Community Award. So the Connecting all of our award categories, the award recipients are selected by an independent panel of judges. The Connecting the Community Award is the only award that is determined by an online vote. So we asked all the nominees, individuals, not the organizations, to choose an area of advocacy, and we list them, we give them the options that most aligns with their work or their passions, what have you, and to submit a quote to us about why this chosen YWCA advocacy aligns with the work that they do. Then we open up an online voting page. We have all the quotes listed, and we ask that nominees go on a public campaign to their friends or family supporters and have them vote for them. And whoever garners the most amount of votes, our presenting sponsor will donate $10,000 on their behalf to their chosen area of advocacy for the YWCA. So it's the nominee's chance to gain a little bit of profile, but also to direct $10,000 in funds to like an area that matters to them. I hope that's helpful. Can a letter of support come from an employee or staff member? Yes, they can. We really don't have any rules around who can write letters of support. But like, I encourage you to be thoughtful about who's going to make the most impact with your letters. Can a nominator also be one of the letters? No. All letters of support need to be written by a third party to the nomination. Your nominator can essentially look at the nomination as your nominator's letter. Like that's their endorsement of the nominee, if you will. And then the 3 letters have to be 3 other people. Can we nominate for both Women of Distinction? Yes. And Outstanding Workplace? Yes. We see that quite often, actually. You can. The criteria sections have 3 60-count word sections. Would you mind? So, hi, Chloe. Good question. Okay, so for every criteria, we are really looking for like examples, specifics, metrics, just like very factual examples of how they address that specific category. So 3 minimally, and basically each section is for each example. So you're going to see under one criteria, you're going to see 4 places where you can enter data, if you will. each with a 60-word count. In fact, I think the last one has a 50-word count, but we want 3 different examples of how they address or how they meet that criteria. And then the last one is specifically for anything else you may want to add. Hi, Chloe. I wonder if this is the Chloe Morgan who I think it is, but hi. I hope, does that make sense? I hope it does. Really focus on like specific examples. Okay. Oh, yay. For recognition, can podcasts and panels be used? Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So if your nominee has been asked to speak on podcasts and panels, for sure. I like that is someone recognizing that they have some sort of expertise or experience or you know, in that field, and they're asked to speak on it. Hi, Dana, by the way, I hope you're well. You're missed. Any more questions, please? Yes, I will be sending this recording afterwards. Don't worry, Sophia. Okay, I'm going to allow 1 more minute for any other new questions. Otherwise, I just really want to thank everyone for joining me. Again, if there's anything I haven't answered, or if you have any questions, concerns, comments, suggestions, how we can make this webinar better, about our work, please do not hesitate to email me. I will be sending a follow-up email to everybody, so you will have my direct email. But yeah, thanks for joining. We're very excited about receiving some nominations. I or my team will personally be following up, you know, every couple of weeks to see if I can check in. But it's not as intimidating as it looks when you break it down. And if you start early, I would say if you dedicate a solid day and you have the information, or maybe you're working with the nominee, you can get a package put together pretty, it doesn't need to take as much time as it feels like it might take. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your Tuesday. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you later. Bye.